Selamat sejahtera Puan Zaza. My name is Chang Yan Lee. Together with my groupmate Uncle Singh, Danish, RIZAMIR, HENG and KHAI will be presenting for topic 2, 4.2, produce web application security in web application. So I was starting. We have 4 parts, which is authentication security. We'll be briefly talking about what is that. And 4.2.1 is serverless security. 4.2.2 is use authentication methods. And 4.2.3 is understand authorization steps. So what is web authentication security? It is a process of securing confidential data stored online from unauthorized access and modification, accomplished by enforcing stringent policy measures. Security threats can compromise the data stored by an organization. So now I'll continue with the 4.2.1, which is servlet security. There are 4 types of servlet security, which is authentication, authorization, confidentiality, and integrity. So I will talk about the authentication. So what is authentication? Authentication is a process of determining whether someone or something provides access control for system by checking to see if a user's credentials match the credentials in a database of authorized users or in a data authentication server. So example is a password that matches with the user ID.
Thank you, Lily. And I'm Uncle Sim, matrix number 01DDT21F1001. So now I will continue with 4.2.1.2, authorizations. So what is authorization? Security mechanism used to determine user client privilege or access levels related to system resources, including computer programs, files, services, data, and application features. Preceded by authentication for user identity verification. System administrator (SA) are typically assigned permission levels covering all system and user resources. System verified and authenticated users access rule and either grants or refuses resource access. Authorization processes are important in modern operating systems to control who can access certain resources and actions. These processes consider things like the user's role, credential, and the number of users who need access. One common approach is role-based authorization, where users are assigned different levels of access based on their job functions. Enterprise authentication mechanism like Active Directory can also be used to manage user accounts and privilege across an organization. By implementing effective authorization processes, organizations can reduce the risk of security breaches and ensure that only authorized users can access the resources they need. So for the next one is 4.2.1.3, confidentiality. Application requires the data to be transmitted in fashion that prevents other entity from observing the contents of transmission. So this is important because without confidentiality, anyone could access and read your data. To make sure that this doesn't happen, you can protect your confidentiality by using this following code. So this is the example of the code: user data constraint, transport guarantee, confidential, transport guarantee, and close the bracket. So for the next one is integrity. What is integrity? Process of verifying if data is transmitted without corruption or modification. Data must not be changed in transit, and steps must be taken to ensure that data cannot be altered by unauthorized people. Define using the security constraint sub-element of the web app element. Configure using transport guarantee sub-element of user data constraint element, which is a sub-element of the security constraint element. So this is the example of the coding. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is DANISH MUQRISH bin Muhammad RAZMI and my matrix number is 01DDT21F1019. So in 4.2.2, where use authentication methods. Alright, use authentication methods refers to the implementation of various techniques and technologies that are designed to verify the identity of user and provide secure access to web applications. These methods can include token authentication, transaction authentication, out-of-band authentication, and others. By implementing strong authentication methods using technologies such as servlet and JSP, web developers can help protect sensitive user data and prevent unauthorized access to web application. So first is token authentication, where a material device such as a Google or card is used to access secure systems. This makes it harder for hackers to access an account since they need the physical device and long credentials. Token identification can be used in conjunction with servlets and JSP to secure web application and protect sensitive user data.
Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. My name is Muhammad RIZAMIR bin ROSLI. My registration number is 01DDT21F1027. So, I will be explaining about transaction authentication and out-of-band authentications. So, like before, Dennis just explained about token authentication. So, it's my turn to explain about transaction authentication and out-of-band authentications. So, what is transaction authentication? Transaction authentication, this method compares known data about a user with the details of a current transaction to identify possible mistake or fraudulent activities. Okay, for example, if a user is based in the United States, but a large purchase is made from an overseas IP address, a red flag is raised and additional verification steps are required to ensure the transaction is legitimate. Servlet and JSP can be used to implement transaction authentication in web applications. So next is out-of-band authentication. So what is out-of-band authentication? Okay, this method uses separate channels such as mobile devices to authenticate transactions. So for example, if a large money transfer is initiated from a computer, a notification is sent to a mobile device or app for additional authentications. With two separate channels required for authentication, it is much harder for hackers to steal money. And servlet and JSP can be used to implement out-of-band authentication in web applications. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Hello, madam. My name is KHAI, and my matrix number is 01DDT21F1088. So today I'm going to talk about understanding the authorization steps. So first, authorization is concerned with assessing a user's level of access. It relates to the application that contains many layers and where a user may have access to one section but not the others. An online store, for example, might have separated into several parts, general parts for the general public to browse and search for the items, buyer areas for registered customers to place orders, and admin sections. Among the three, the admin area demands the greatest degree of access. Not only would the admin users be needed to verify themselves, they will also need to have been assigned access to the admin section.
Hi, my name is Mihu and my matrix number is 10TT21F104. So now I will continue to present about the understand authorization step. So access level, also called rules at deployment, a servlet or JSP allocations can be conveniently split into sections and configured so that each stations can be accessed by the user in the particular rules. And then this is done by declaring security constant in the deployment descriptor. In other words, called declarative security. At the other ends of spectrum, content restrictions is also commonly achieved programmatically by trying to match pair of username and password with a value stored in the database. In the majority of servlet or JSP applications, authentications and authorizations are done programmatically by first authenticating the username and password against a database table. Once authentications is successful, authorizations can be done by checking another table or a frames in same table that store username and password. It's all from our group. Thank you.